another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite the show as we have a lot to get into the world of Southern California sports, such as UNC Women's League taking down #1 UCLA. How did the Williams Troy do it? How did UCLA somehow lose on the road to the Trojans? And what could have been prevented? Also, the Lakers are still doing pretty good, even though they just recently lost to the Utah Jazz. But the All-Star break is here, and it's time for the Lakers to recharge their batteries. Also, the Clippers have won 3 in a row after they lost 2 in a row. Pretty good if you ask me, but can the Clippers continue their winning ways? Also, we are 1 week away from the preseason of the MLB. Also, in terms of college men's league, UC San Diego continues to win as they pick up a huge win last Saturday against UC Irvine. Can the Antelopes rebound? Can the Titans continue their winning ways? Did we get both teams in the NCAA tournament? Please give us a stupid Big West for the more. All that and more here on the SoCal Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday evening, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 216 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Also, make sure to like us and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to reach 400, if not 500 subscribers by the time March rolls around. And with your help, we could definitely make it happen. Also, check us out on other podcast platforms such as Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. The list goes on, GeoSavin, you name it. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our Hall of Fame, which I am actually inductee number 10, our Fans of the Month, and much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports teams around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and Raw Nutrition. So without any further delay, let's see what our sponsors are all about.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at planetjerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors, including our most recent sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to getrawnutrition.com, and if you use the code IESR, you'll get 10% off your order. So we thank them and our other three sponsors for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X at SoCal Show ISR. You can follow me, the host, personally, as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. All right, let's get on into the SoCal sports action as we have quite a bit to talk about. So we got to start with the Super Bowl. But you thought I was going to start with the Super Bowl. There were no SoCal teams that played. So if you thought I was going to be starting off with the Super Bowl, you're dead wrong. I know it was a big event, but seeing as that the Chargers didn't play or the Rams didn't play in the Super Bowl, you're not getting no Super Bowl talk out of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. There were a lot of SoCal products or SoCal natives on the Chiefs, but unfortunately they lost and the Eagles won. So there you go. That's it. Let's actually talk about some of the other SoCal sports that happened. So the Lakers did debut Luka Doncic this past week. So he was supposed to make his debut on Saturday when the Lakers took on the Pacers, but he was still out. So it is what it is, whatever. I mean, wow, I'm not going to cry over it. But another player that was out in terms of injury was LeBron James, as he actually had a sore ankle. So the Lakers were down two of their best players. So that was no good. So who was going to pick up the scoring slack with LeBron and Luka both out? Simple, Austin Reeves. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Austin Reeves had to pick up the scoring slack. As I'm so thankful the Lakers did not trade Austin Reeves, because if they did, I would be so mad. As Ralph Cleese pops in the chat room, he says, "Good afternoon, Teran. Have a great show." Thank you. But going to that Lakers-Pacers game, the Lakers really shot the lights out. They doubled up the Pacers in the first quarter. They were up 44-22, and they eventually led by 16 at halftime. They led 66-50. So Lakers were rolling even without LeBron James and Luka Doncic. But the Pacers, being the very talented team that they are, they actually were catching fire as of late. And they got the lead down to single digits in the third quarter, but the Lakers were able to build that lead back up. And thankfully, they had Austin Reeves, who did not go 0 for 9 in terms of from shooting it from three-point land. And eventually, the Lakers led by 10 going into the fourth quarter. And the Pacers, to their credit, they did everything that they could to try to get the lead. But every time they willed the lead down, the Lakers had an answer. Even late in the game, the Lakers still held off the Pacers, as the Lakers eventually wound up winning it 124-117. Austin Reeves did not go 0 for 9. He went 4 for 9. So good progress right there. He even went a perfect 13 for 13 from the charity stripe, as he finished up with 45 points, 7 assists, and 7 boards. That's why the Lakers did not want to trade Austin Reeves. That is why he is Mr. Future USA national team player. Rui Hachimura also had 24 points. Jordan Goodwin, whose name I didn't even know of until this game, he came off the bench and added 10 points. Gabe Vincent also had 12 points with 7 assists. So all in all for the Lakers, it was a very good win, as even though they didn't have a bunch of their talented guys like LeBron and AD, or not LeBron and AD, LeBron and Luka, that's still going to get a little bit of use for me to say. But despite not having Luka and LeBron, the Lakers were able to pull off the win against the Pacers. But he did make his debut on Monday, as that game was so big that the Lakers playing the Jazz on Monday night was so big in terms of Luka Doncic making his debut that ESPN actually flexed that game to primetime. So, yeah, that was quite phenomenal if you ask me. And the Lakers gave Luka a hero's welcome, and Laker fans gave Luka a hero's welcome. And eventually, they played the Utah Jazz, who is not one of the more better teams in the NBA. And the Lakers were able to handle the Jazz 132-113. This was at the Crypto.com arena. As Luka Doncic in his debut, he had 14 points. He wasn't too terrible, as he also had 5 boards and 4 assists as well. So pretty good. LeBron James came back from his one-game absence, and he had 24 points to go along with 8 assists. Rui Hachimura had 21 points. Austin Reeves had 22 points and 9 boards. And then Jackson Hayes had 12 points. They also got 17 points off the bench from Jordan Goodwin. Yes, Jordan Goodwin is starting to become an X factor for this team, believe it or not. And then Gabe Vincent added 11 points off the bench. So great stuff from the Lakers. And I did forget to kind of mention this news like after the Lakers win. So before this game happened, the Lakers got some unfortunate news. So remember how the Lakers traded for Mark Williams and how they traded Dalton Connect and I forget the other. I think it was Gabe Vincent, as well as a first-round pick, as well as a pick swap for Mark Williams. Well, the Lakers got the most unfortunate news that Mark Williams failed his physical and he was unable to be traded. And so instead of the Lakers trading away Dalton Connect and everyone else, and getting Mark Williams, they basically had to switch back. So the Lakers unfortunately could not get their big man that they most desired, but it is what it is. So is that a problem for the Lakers? I mean, they've got big men. They've got Maxi Kleba. They've got Jackson Hayes. They've got Christian Coloco. But they're not the most athletic big men ever. But I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But back to the Lakers win over the Utah Jazz. Yeah, this was kind of to be expected. You know the Jazz suck when their leading scorer had 17 points, which is a big fat oof. But you want to know what else was a big fat oof? The Lakers losing to the freaking Jazz. So, yeah, the Lakers saw their win streak snapped against the Utah Jazz as they lost in Utah 131-119. The Lakers didn't have most of their star players, or the Lakers forgot to show up, or they forgot to hop off the plane. But no, they did have Luka Doncic. They had LeBron James. They had most of their key guys. Unfortunately, the Utah Jazz just seemed to have a better night. I think the Utah Jazz kind of took them being put on primetime personal for the debut of Luka, which I think that's one of the reasons why the Jazz wound up winning. So, God, what a terrible way to see your win streak come to an end, to one of the bottom feeders in the NBA. As they allowed Lauri Markkanen to go off for 32 points. They also had former Laker Jordan Clarkson go off for 21 points, 7 assists, and 9 boards. And the Lakers were led by LeBron James, who had they were led by Rui Hachimura, who had 19 points. LeBron had 18 points. Luka Doncic had 16 points, and Austin Reeves had 15 points and 11 assists. So at least they didn't trade away Austin Reeves, and this is why you don't trade away Austin Reeves. He's kind of that guy that basically will help you get those big minutes. Now, I should also mention that Dalton Connect, the one that was supposed to be traded for Mark Williams, he had 10 points off the bench, which wasn't bad. And then Bronny James also had a career-high 9 points. I use the word career-high very loosely because he's still budding. But, hey, he didn't have any turnovers, so that's pretty darn good if you ask me. But, let's be honest. This was in garbage time. We're not going to throw a parade just because Bronny James made 2 threes and finished up with 9 points. But I digress. But, yeah, the Lakers' win streak, unfortunately, ended at the hands of the Utah Jazz of all teams. It's funny because the Lakers probably could have lost to this team all the way back in December when the Utah Jazz had that massive blunder. Actually, no, it was in November where the Lakers almost had that massive blunder, but the Utah Jazz decided to call timeout, erasing what could have been the game-winning basket and eventually seeing them lose. So, yeah, what a terrible way to see their win streak come to an end. But it is what it is, and that's why you got to take the good with the bad. So this weekend is All-Star Weekend, so Lakers get a little bit of a break, but they are back in action on Wednesday when they host the Charlotte Hornets. So at least the Lakers are looking pretty solid. I mean, they're 32-20. They're number 5 in the Western Conference. So not bad for the Lakers. Obviously, they'd like to be a little bit better, but it is what it is. So that is that for the Lakers. So jumping over to the Clippers. So remember how my brother and I were talking about how the Clippers had lost 3 straight? Now they've won 3 straight. So unlike the Lakers, the Clippers wound up beating the Jazz not once, but twice. So the first go-around was last Saturday when the Clippers just thumped the Jazz at home, 130-110. That was kind of expected just because, let's be honest, the Jazz stink. There should be no reason why any team above 500 and contending for a playoff spot should be struggling. As Ivica Zubac led the way for the Clippers with 26 points. So good job for him. And also got 26 points from Norman Powell. They got 23 points from James Harden, 11 points from Derek Jones Jr., 10 points from Kawhi Leonard, and they got Amir Coffey off the bench with 17 points. So good job to the Clippers. They also got 17 assists from James Harden and 15 boards from Zubac. So, all right, very good win. That's how you snap a losing streak, my dudes and dudettes. And then after they played the Jazz, they played the Memphis Grizzlies, which look, the Grizzlies are a good team, but the fact that the Clippers managed to take them down was pretty impressive. They took them down 128-114 at Intuit Dome. Kawhi Leonard looked like prime Kawhi Leonard back when he was on the Toronto Raptors, as he had 25 points. Pretty good if you ask me. Ivica Zubac had 12 points and 13 boards. James Harden had 18 points and 10 assists and had 8 boards. So he was flirting with a triple-double. Chris Dunn had 14 points and Norman Powell added 18 points. And then off the bench, Amir Coffey added 15 points. So that's pretty solid right there. Pretty good if you ask me. And then to close off their week full of matches and week full of games, and that was on Wednesday, by the way. Yesterday, they took down the Utah Jazz in Utah, which is more than I could say for the Lakers, by a score of 120-116. Now, the Clippers did need overtime to beat the Jazz, but they did clamp down on them as they held the Jazz to only 13 points in the fourth quarter. So good job to the Clippers for realizing that defense actually wins games, which the Lakers could actually learn that, but I digress. So Norman Powell led the way for the Clippers with 41 points. James Harden looked like prime James Harden with 32 points, 10 boards, and 7 assists, as well as 3 steals. Zubac had 10 points. Ben Simmons, yes, the Ben Simmons. I forgot to mention this past Saturday, the Clippers signed Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons had 12 points off the bench. That's pretty good if you ask me. And then they also have Patty Mills as well. So the Clippers also saw the debut of Bojan Bogdanovic, who had 7 points. So not bad if you ask me in terms of the Clippers, even though they only played a whopping 9 players. So the Clippers entered the All-Star break on a 3-game win streak, which is pretty darn good if you ask me. They're a game and a half. No, they're 2 games back of the Lakers, and they are 6th in the Western Conference. So it's good that the Clippers are starting to work their way back up. And thankfully, they got a good win over Memphis, and they actually managed to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, because those type of games could be the type of games where that could be the difference between playing in the play-in or not even have to play in the play-in. So thankfully for the Clippers, they were able to pull off that win because they're the Clippers. Like, they have the talent to beat the Utah Jazz on any given night. My only big concern is they'll be back in action next Thursday when they hit the road to Wisconsin to take on those Milwaukee Bucks. So you have that right there. I think it's going to be a very fun matchup right there. I hope that the Lakers or the Clippers don't play the Bucks when they play, or they don't have to play the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. So that is my big hope right there, and hopefully for the Clippers' sake, they don't have to meet them. But it looks like the Bucks seem to do well even without Dame and Giannis. So this will be quite fascinating if you ask me when it comes to the Clippers. I think they're still in a good position to do great things. I mean, Bogdanovic looked pretty solid. I mean, Ben Simmons. If there's one coach that can draw out the best in Ben Simmons, it's Tyronn Lue. And I think, and he helped revive Russell Westbrook in his playing career, as well as James Harden. So who knows? Maybe we could be seeing a miracle with Ben Simmons, even though Ben Simmons is basically a guy who would, quote unquote, play for the Guangdong Tigers. Meow, 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 as Shaquille O'Neal once said on Inside the NBA, but I digress. All right, that is going to do it for the NBA portion of the show. I guess while we're talking about hoops, let's jump on into the college hoop scene. As in terms of women's basketball, yesterday was the big showdown. It was the big showdown. It was USC versus UCLA, two top 10 teams, two teams that were occupying the number 1 and number 2 spot in the Big Ten. As USC was able to pull off an amazing win over USC was able to pull off an amazing win over UCLA in women's hoops as they took them down 71-60. So a very nice win for the Bruins, as that actually was the first very good win for the Trojans, as that was actually the Bruins' first loss of the season. So I will just say I was a little concerned for USC going into this match, just because I thought that USC might have gotten surprised by UCLA, because UCLA, let's be honest, they were not losing to anybody. They were just tearing down anybody and everybody, if you ask me. But USC was able to do the unthinkable. They shocked the world. They defended home court. They're still undefeated at home at Galen Center, by the way, which is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. But they were able to do that. And now that UCLA has lost, there are no more undefeated teams in college women's basketball. So how did USC pull off the win? Well, they started off really good in the first quarter. They led 24-15, which was very uncharacteristic by UCLA's part. But then UCLA kind of responded like a very good team should. Although UCLA did trail by 3 at the half, it was so much better than being down 9. And then UCLA, in the second half, they started off playing really better basketball. I mean, Juju Watkins was just doing her thing, but everyone knew Juju Watkins could not do it by herself. So, and it didn't help that the only other player that was basically to her aid was Kiki Iriafen. Meanwhile, Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice was able to do some damage for UCLA, as well as Janiyah Barker off the bench. So UCLA, which was down 3 at halftime, actually led by 5 going into the final frame. And believe it or not, Juju Watkins had 30 points by the time the fourth quarter rolled around. But USC used a key 12-1 run, and they basically distanced themselves quite a bit from UCLA. And UCLA tried as they may, they just could not get anything to go down. They missed 7 free throws, and they were a whopping 2 for 13 from three-point land. That's not going to help you win a lot of games. Meanwhile, USC was actually 8 from 18 from downtown, and they only missed 4 free throws. But overall, the Trojans wound up beating UCLA 71-60, which was how USC managed to pull off the win and hand UCLA its first loss of the season. So leading the way for USC was Juju Watkins, who had 38 points and 11 boards, to go along with 5 assists and 8 blocks. Man, she was flirting with the triple-double and then some. Kiki Iriafen had 13 points and 9 boards, to go along with 3 assists. Those are the only 2 in double digits for USC, by the way, as the Bruins were led by Lauren Betts, who had 18 points and 13 boards. They also got 15 points from Kiki Rice and 10 points off the bench from Janiyah Baker. So, all right. So for those that actually did get a chance to see that, follow my account on the on X, and then that also follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on X, as well as the UCLA women's basketball on X as well. I basically put, and I quote, "The streak was bound to be broken, but it's better this team loses now than in the NCAA tournament." So that's my biggest takeaway for UCLA. It sucks that they lost. And there was one commenter that said, but did they, in capital letters, have to break it? And adding an angry emoji. So let me just address that. Look, at least UCLA didn't lose to a bottom feeder like Northwestern or Penn State, even though Penn State does own a win over Ohio State. But I digress. But yeah, the streak was bound to be broken. I would rather, if I'm a UCLA fan, I would much rather see UCLA lose now than lose the NCAA tournament, because all that pressure would have built up with them remaining undefeated. Yes, they have such a fantastic team, but they needed to have that reality check where they needed to be woken up to the truth. And I think that this loss is actually a good thing. It's a good silver lining for the Lady Bruins. So I get it that this loss does suck, but you know who's on the radar for UCLA next? Number 22, Michigan State. They come to town on Sunday, and UCLA can't be sulking about this loss. They got to get up off the mat, and they got to focus on Michigan State because, as someone once told me, the next game is the most important game and nothing else matters. So, yes, I understand UCLA fans have every right to be frustrated at the fact that USC broke the streak. But I will also just say, would you rather this loss come in the NCAA tournament, or would you rather it come against your rival in the regular season? Answer's so obvious. Now, there was one other commenter who, oh my God, this guy, I'll save that for a little later, but whoo, yeah. Yeah, but that is that for UCLA USC women's basketball. Now, USC did win that one, and that's great that they won, but they have a little bit of a gauntlet the remainder of the way, as I don't see a whole lot of easiness most of the way. I mean, their next game is against Washington on Sunday, but that's kind of going to be their only breather match. I mean, they also, okay, I will say they did thump Ohio State really good. They beat them 84-63 at home, so that was kind of the trap game that I was fearing the most when it came to USC. And then they also handled Wisconsin quite well. So the fact that USC was able to have that great of athleticism in terms of and that great of results going into the UCLA game really is a confidence booster. And then they really showed that they played well against UCLA. Yes, did they score 80 plus points? No, but they scored well enough to beat a very talented UCLA team that was number one in the nation. And I want to get this fun fact accurate just because my boy James H. Williams posted this on X, and he covers UCLA. So I want to get this correct. I don't want to just assume that this is correct. So first and foremost, while I look that up, UCLA's women's volleyball coach Corey Close said after the loss to USC, "You can swish your feet in the pity pond, but no swimming laps. There's no time for us to swim laps. We'll let this loss teach our hearts." Bingo. That is exactly what I'm saying. One loss does not define a team. You can either sulk about the loss and just basically throw in the towel, or you can actually let this loss humble you, let this loss wake you up, let this loss be the turning point to the point where you can legit say, you know what, sun came up the day after we lost to USC. Let's go back and start a new streak. Let's go win a national championship. Let's not sulk ourselves within this loss. And I found the fun fact from James H. Williams. He said it was the first time USC women's basketball had beaten a number one ranked team since 1983. So that is pretty darn impressive if you ask me. So great job to USC women's hoops. And for UCLA, don't let this loss affect you, just because honestly, the sun came up tomorrow. The sun did come up, at least I hope it did. But you woke up from your bed, even though it was probably raining. Probably need the rain. Look, this loss isn't the end of the world. Like USC got their big win over UCLA, and then USC does lead the Big Ten Conference, but there is the chance that UCLA and USC could meet again in the postseason. They obviously will meet again to close off the regular season, being on March 1st. And then the two will most likely meet in the Big Ten Championship, most likely, unless UCLA and USC just one of them manages to fall off. But we're not going to look that far ahead. All right, but that is that for USC, UCLA. I guess we'll discuss a little Big West Conference, as the Big West is not looking so good in terms of the SoCal teams. Hawaii has been on a tear. They've won a grand total of 12 straight wins, as they most recently beat Long Beach State, as their most recent game actually was played in the gold mine. Apparently, there's been some problems with the Walter Pyramid, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and they just gotta find a new way to just move on, because there was no Walter Pyramid back in the day. Like, while I was in the womb back into like the 1980s, like players, like basketball players and volleyball players, they had to play their games in the gold mine. They would kill to play in a much more seating capacity facility like the Walter Pyramid. But I digress. But yeah, also UC Irvine lost to UC Santa Barbara. Good for Santa Barbara, but not so good for UC Irvine, because now they're further back of Hawaii. But thankfully, the next 3 games are against sub-500 teams, and they don't have to see Hawaii. My only fear for UC Irvine is that if they play Hawaii again, it's probably going to be in the Big West Conference tournament. And I think they only played 1 time this season, and Hawaii does have the tiebreaker over the Anteaters, and that can come into play if the 2 teams are tied for first place or tied for a certain spot in the Big West Conference standings. All right, but that is that for some college women's hoops. So let's jump over to a little college. Actually, no, let's take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we will discuss some college men's hoops as the Big West is becoming big craziness, if you ask me. And then UCLA unfortunately suffered a tough loss, but they have a chance to bounce back this weekend. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point, or not Set Point, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph DeLeese, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph DeLeese, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as the Injury Report, which will be going on later tonight, and the Neutral Zone with Adam Karnick and Zach Puplis. So I actually do want to close off my thoughts on the UCLA-USC women's basketball game. So it was an amazing game, and it was very back and forth. I mean, USC started hot, and then UCLA managed to battle their way back, and UCLA had a nice little lead. And these are the type of rivalry games that people pay big bucks to see. And this game was actually sold out at the Poly Pavilion. So I thought this was very amazing to see. I thought it was a great game. I only wish it could have been streamed on something other than Peacock. It should have been on ESPN, for goodness sake. But then again, now that I look at it, it's a Big Ten. It's a Big Ten thing. So it was probably going to be on either Big Ten Network or Peacock. It could have probably been on NBC as well. But honestly, I think something other than just one streaming service would have been better. But at least they kind of thought it through. I would have probably liked to have put it on national TV, but I digress. But yeah, again, for UCLA fans, I wouldn't fret about this loss. I have a feeling UCLA should bounce back. I mean, unless they want to continue to throw pity parties when it came to losing to SC. But as Corey Close said, we're not going to be swimming in pity party ponds. We're going to be letting this loss. We're going to be learning from this loss and just moving on. So, paraphrasing right there. All right, but that is that right there. Just want to put that out there as well. So now for some college men's basketball. So this past Saturday we had the biggest of Big West Conference men's basketball games. We had UC San Diego taking on UC Irvine, which was definitely going to be a barn burner. We had some first place implications right here, and this was definitely a game that kind of lived up to the hype, but I will just say I was just darn right impressed with UC San Diego. Like, they're actually I think they might be top 5 in terms of non-Power 5 conferences non-Power 5 conferences and whatnot. So I think I mentioned non-Power 5 conferences just because I think the Big East can be classified as a Power 5 conference, but I digress. Sorry, I got a little bit of an itch right there, but UC Irvine, UC San Diego had themselves a nice little battle this past Saturday at the Brent Event Center in Irvine. But coming out on top was UC San Diego as they just thumped UC Irvine by a score of 85-67. This was at UC Irvine, mind you. This was at the Brent Event Center. And UC San Diego just literally put belt to butt on this one. But it was actually close. First half, UC San Diego only led 32-30, but then the Tritons really kicked it up into overdrive. They shot over 50% from the field while holding UC Irvine to under 40%. As the Tritons were led by, I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, Eniwaniwa Tati Jones, who had 22 points, while Norden Kapik added 15 points, and then Hayden Gray added 12 points. And then Chris Howell also had 15 points. Sorry if I butchered any names. Brent Lukton led UC Irvine with 23 points, while Devin Tillis and Miles Chi both had 13 points respectively. But it wasn't enough, as UC Irvine, they got stomped on. And it's very rare to see UC Irvine losing at the Brent Event Center. But that win for UC San Diego was actually something special, because that was actually win number 20 for the Tritons, which you got to remember, this was a team that was in the Division II to Division I transition for 4 seasons, and then they eventually managed to wait it out, and now they're kicking butt in Division I. And now they're part of the 20-win club. So a great win for UC San Diego, taking down UC Irvine. But UC Irvine did bounce back nicely as they took down UC Santa Barbara yesterday, 62-60, as Devin Tillis actually won the game on a buzzer beater. So great job to Devin Tillis. He actually leads the team in field goal percentage with shooting just a little over 55%. So great job to Devin Tillis and UC Irvine. And that win was so crucial because heaven knows what could have happened if the two teams went OT. But Tillis led the way with 22 points. Chi had 13 points. The Gauchos were led by Kenny Poto, who had 15 points. Actually, Steven Swenson led the way with 18 points. Then Poto had 15 points. And then Jason Fontent is that Fontenet? Jason Fontenet II had 10 points to go along with 9 boards. So, yeah, that's a tough loss for UC Santa Barbara. But honestly, that win wouldn't have moved the needle anyway, as the win was more big for UC Irvine, as they still remain in first place with UC San Diego. With Northridge right behind them, they're only 2 games back of them, and then Riverside is only 2.5 games behind of those 2 teams that I mentioned, Irvine and San Diego. But unfortunately for Riverside, they suffered a tough loss as well. But for UC San Diego, they followed up their win over UC Irvine with a dominant 19-point win over Bakersfield on the road, winning 73-54. So next up, the Tritons have UC Davis, which that's going to be a fun little matchup right there because Davis isn't too far back of UC San Diego either. And UC Irvine and UC San Diego have both clinched a spot in the Big West Conference tournament. So great job to the Anteaters and Tritons. And we really need to get this trend going. We need to get hashtag 2bid Big West. We got to get that trending because let's be honest, UC San Diego and UC Irvine have been 2 of the most powerful mid-major teams in NCAA men's basketball. Honestly, there's no doubt in my mind UC San Diego deserves a spot, but so does UC Irvine. But why can't we just let both of them in? I get it. People from the East Coast or the voters and committee from the East Coast will not be able to see Big West Conference games, but I don't care. Let them in. Let both those teams in. Like, whoever doesn't make it into the NCAA tournament, I hope that other team dominates and wins the NIT or NIVC. Or not NIVC, NIT. But honestly, or the CIT or whatever it's called. Bottom line is, I just want both of those teams to be in there because I am a huge fan of mid-major conferences having their way and making a deep run. And if there's one team no one wants to face, it's UC Irvine. UC Irvine, if they're a double-digit seed in the NCAA tournament, avoid them at all costs. Because if you face them, it's going to be a one long game. And same can be said for UC San Diego. They're just playing such great basketball. Like, you can't even fault them. You just want to root for them. As Aniwaniwa Tate Jones leads UC San Diego in points per game with 20, and he leads them in assists per game and field goal percentage. So I'm just going to say UC San Diego, they're starting to become the lovable underdog that most people want to root for. Now, are they capable of winning a national championship? Only if they have the same luck as San Diego State did when they made it all the way to the national championship, only to get humbled by UConn, not once, but twice. Well, once in the national championship and then last year in the Sweet 16, but I digress. There's still plenty of basketball left for both teams. I mean, Davis is going to be a tough matchup for UC San Diego. I would not be surprised if they had to grind that one out. And then UC Irvine has Hawaii, which it's so tricky. Hawaii is not that great this season. I mean, they're pretty much below 500 in the conference. But it's so easy to think that, and then you get humbled when playing in Hawaii. And I think Hawaii could be a massive trap game for UC Irvine because following that matchup against Hawaii, they play CSUN or Cal State Northridge in 5 days after. So if I am UC Irvine, I focus on Hawaii first, then focus on CSUN, and then go from there. They won't have to face too much stiff competition. I mean, Davis is going to be up, is also still lurking. Santa Barbara is kind of in the middle of the road. But after they face CSUN, they won't be playing too many big-time teams. I mean, Fullerton's on their schedule. They should handle them. Long Beach State, even though they played them close the first go-around, they should handle them. Cal Poly, they're nothing to write home about. Bakersfield, oh no, they don't play Cal Poly the rest of the way anymore. But Bakersfield, that's not a team to write home about. So they play, so their last 6 games, they play 3 of the worst teams in the conference. And then CSUN is obviously the team that they should kind of be worrying about the most in terms of level of talent, but I digress. But it's great to see CSUN turning it around. I mean, it's great. It's refreshing to see another mid-major team. Now, CSUN obviously isn't having the same success as UC Irvine and UC San Diego, but honestly, it's great to see CSUN back in the mix of being one of the more better teams in the conference. UT Riverside is also still having a solid season, but I only can see Northridge and Riverside getting into the tournament if they win the Big West Conference tournament. Otherwise, they'll be sitting at home watching the game, but it is what it is. All right, that is that for some college men's basketball talks from the Big West. Now let's jump to the Big Ten. So last I talked about in terms of UCLA, they were just rolling through everybody. They were on a 6-game winning streak after they lost badly to Rutgers. But UCLA was just on a tear as of late, and it was looking very good for those gutty little Bruins as they had won 6 in a row after last I talked about them. But their most recent, but their next game after their big win over Michigan State was against Penn State, and they just walked all over them. Let's be honest, Penn State is not the best team in men's basketball. They're actually the worst team in the Big Ten Conference. But UCLA just walked all over them, 78-54. So that was great. UCLA pushed their win streak to 7 games. Unfortunately, 8 could not get to that 8, as Illinois managed to beat UCLA 83-78, which really sucks because that's the team's only meeting unless they play in the Big West, or not Big West, a Big Ten conference tournament. But it is what it is for UCLA. Their win streak got snapped, and they actually have another tough matchup tonight as they take on Indiana. That's going to be a little tricky matchup just because UCLA is a little bit above the rest in terms of the pack, but Indiana, that's still a bit of a storied program, and Indiana, they just beat Michigan State. So if I'm UCLA, I flush the loss down the toilet, and I just focus more on Indiana, bouncing back against Indiana, because UCLA can ill afford any more losses because they should make the NCAA tournament. My only thing is they need all the momentum they can get, and they just can't afford any more bad losses to any teams that are just not good. As for USC, they saw their last I talked about them, they lost a heartbreaker to Northwestern following a great win over Michigan State. But they followed that loss to Northwestern with an even bigger loss to Purdue, losing to number 7 Purdue on the road, 90-72. Let's be honest, this was expected. But USC did get back on track as they just thumped Penn State 92-67. So great win for the Trojans as they are back in action tomorrow when they host Minnesota. And then after that, they take on number 25 Maryland, and then they've also got Rutgers on the road. And they've got Ohio State, Oregon on the road, Washington, and UCLA. Now, I'm definitely not concerned about UCLA in terms of making the NCAA tournament, but I am concerned about USC making the NCAA tournament. They just aren't that team that just screams NCAA tournament team. As the Trojans, they're 14-10, but they're 6-7 in conference play. And they've got quite a bit of some not so good losses. I mean, I'll have to go back and look at all their losses and dissect them, but I'm pretty sure they've got a few bad losses here and there. I'm not sure how Cal is doing. I mean, if anything, maybe Cal isn't too bad of a loss, but the New Mexico loss might be a little bit of a bad loss right there. As Cal is, they're under 500, and they are one of the worst teams in the ACC. So that is definitely a bad loss if you're USC. And then they also lost to Michigan. Well, Michigan's not a bad loss. Indiana's not a bad loss. Wisconsin at the time wasn't a bad loss. UCLA is not a bad loss. Northwestern is for sure a bad loss. You can't lose to that team. New Mexico, I think, is kind of a bad loss. And then St. Mary's, I don't think is a bad loss. So for USC, look, I get it. USC is in its first year of the Eric Musselman era, but I don't think that should be too much of an excuse. I mean, they're competitive. They're at least battling. But I think for USC, this is going to be a really tight if they make the NCAA tournament. If they make the NCAA tournament, it's probably because they wound up getting hot in the Big Ten conference tournament, and they managed to beat a bunch of good teams and then make a run to the championship game of the Big Ten tournament where they eventually lost to, let's say, Michigan State or Michigan. But I think for USC, they have a chance, but I think it's going to be very, 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 very close. All right, but that is going to do it for some college basketball. Lots of good college basketball going on in terms of the Big Ten and the Big West. Not so much for like the West Coast Conference, and not so much for like the WAC. No offense to CBU, and no offense to the Mountain West Conference and San Diego State, but I digress. All right, but that is going to do it for the college basketball talk. We're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit of some Chargers-Rams mock drafts, and then we'll give out Dum Dum of the Week. Then I'll send you all on your way on this Valentine's Day. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 40...
Wait. I was going to promote the NorCal Sports Show. Fat chance. I'm kidding. I had to reference my boy Dre on that one. Here's the Dre.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 49ers, Giants, Warriors, then check out the NorCal Sports Report with yours truly, Andre Fernandez, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have guests every single week talking 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Sharks, San Jose Earthquakes, and a whole lot more, plus 3C2A. You do not want to miss this show. So tune in Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, I've got the show for you. I'm Jen B, host of the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You want football? I've got the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Eagles, the Purple Raiders, and more for you. You want basketball? I've got the Cavs and the Charge for you. You want hockey? I've got the Blue Jackets and the Monsters for you. You want football, aka soccer? I've got the Crew and the Crunch for you. You want volleyball? I'm going to unleash the fury for you. You want more Cleveland and Columbus sports? I've got them all for you, from the majors to the minors to the college rinks. Catch me, Jen B, every week on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
Everybody, this is Teran Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, especially my other show, Set Point, as well as Gen B with the Show of the Land. And also check out the NorCal Sports Report with Andre Fernandez. But no, really, do check out those shows, especially the NorCal Sports Report with Andre Fernandez. Even though that's NorCal. But definitely check out all of our amazing shows. And also check out our website, iSportsRadio.com. So welcome back to the final segment of the show, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. All right, let's talk a little bit of some Rams and Chargers. So just because I said I wasn't going to be talking about the Super Bowl doesn't mean I won't be talking about Rams and Chargers. But I won't be getting hung up on them throughout the last part of this show. I don't want this to go too long just because, obviously, reasons. All right, but for the Chargers, their most recent draft actually came via their website. So their most recent mock draft, it's 3.0. So their mock drafts are 3.0. They have the 22nd pick, and they will be picking on April 24th through the 26th. So Field Yates of ESPN has the Chargers selecting, can we get a drum roll, please? Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Okay. I mean, reunite him with Jim Harbaugh. That's great. Chargers kind of need a tight end. I doubt Tyler Warren's going to be available at number 22. I mean, if he is available at 22, awesome. But there's no way you pass up getting the former tight end from Michigan and reuniting him with Jim Harbaugh. That would be ideal for the Chargers. Get Justin Herbert some more targets because, let's be honest, as good as Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst are, they're just not the tight ends that just make you say, oh my God, this is a great tight end that can really do some damage in the near future. No, I think Colston Loveland is what the Chargers need, especially Justin Herbert. And Field Yates writes, Loveland, who played under Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, is my 13th ranked prospect and would completely change the passing game in Los Angeles. He's an effortless route runner who can line up at a variety of spots to beat man coverage and has the catch radius to haul in contested balls. Despite Michigan's quarterback struggles this season, Loveland's had a career high with 56 catches. He could be a reliable target for Justin Herbert in the offense. Bingo. That would definitely be ideal for the Chargers, and maybe he could even be a nice little run block tight end or a blocking tight end as well, but one miracle at a time. And then everyone's favorite former Chargers beat reporter, Daniel Popper of The Athletic, says that the Chargers should select guard Tyler Booker from Alabama. Okay, so he's going offensive line. I like that pick. I mean, that's not bad. But remember the last time we had an offensive lineman in terms of the first round from Alabama. J.C. Latham didn't work out for the Titans all that much. Let's not get into Alex Leatherwood, who was released by the Raiders, picked up by the Bears, and then eventually found his way onto the Chargers practice squad. All right, so not bad. I mean, Tyler Booker, look, I mean, I'm skeptical of it, but offensive linemen are offensive linemen. And Popper actually has the Chargers picks at 55 and 86 selected. So he has tight end Mason Taylor from LSU going to the Chargers at pick 55 in the second round. And then he also has wide receiver Pat Bryant from Illinois getting selected at 86. All right, well, that's not bad. I mean, tight end is something the Chargers need, and they also need another wide receiver. But why Pat Bryant? Like, there's no other wide receivers that the Chargers can go in the third round? I don't know. And then Bleacher Report has the Chargers selecting Colston Loveland. All right, that's good. And then Nick Baumgartner of The Athletic has the Chargers selecting Emeka Egbuka of Ohio State. Okay, wide receiver. Chargers need help in that category. Can't just be the Lad McConkey show. So that's good. I mean, they could maybe make a splash on wide receivers in free agency, but I think that could be a good pick. And also Nick Baumgartner also has Gunnar Helm, tight end out of Texas, getting selected by the Chargers with the 55th pick. And then for the 86th pick, he has the Chargers selecting edge rusher Oluwafemi Oladeheo from UCLA. So, okay, those are some solid picks right there. And I definitely can confirm that Oluwafemi is definitely going to be ideal for the Chargers defense. Then Chad Reuter of NFL.com has the Chargers selecting safety Malachi Starks. So someone had the Rams picking Malachi Starks in the first round, but the Chargers have Alohi Gilman and Derwin James. I highly doubt they're going to part with either of them unless Gilman walks out the door. But safety in the first round, okay. I mean, not my first pick in my opinion, but I guess that's all right. Like, Reuter has some weird picks. The 55th pick, he has the Chargers selecting Joshua Farmer from Florida State. And then with the 86th pick, he has the Chargers selecting center Drew Kendall from Boston College. Okay, I mean, the offensive lineman pick, I understand. But I'm going to assume that he thinks that the Chargers aren't going to bring back Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa. And there have been some rumors that Joey Bosa might get traded, but I don't know. I'd have to see it to believe it. And until I see the Chargers trading away Joey Bosa and seeing Khalil Mack walk out the door, then I think they should hold off on drafting defense until like the later rounds. Oh, and he also, okay, this is kind of also weird that Reuter also has the Chargers trading up to number 14. And he projects that they could sit back and get a good receiver at 22, but he also thinks that the Chargers should trade up to number 14, which is the Colts pick, and get Teran McMillan within that range. Okay. I mean, knowing the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, he'd probably want to make that interesting decision. I mean, Teran McMillan isn't bad. I mean, he's a good wide receiver, and he is a SoCal product coming out of Servite High, so I'd love that pick. And then Tom Fornelli has the Chargers selecting edge rusher Nick Scourton, who doesn't even, make note of his college. So I can't really ultimately judge that too much, but yeah, looking at Nick Scourton, he's from Texas A&M. So okay, I mean, this is assuming that Khalil Mack isn't going to be coming back to the Chargers. And then Cynthia Freeland, Cynthia from NFL.com, she has the Chargers selecting edge rusher Josiah Stewart. Now, this one I understand just because he comes from Michigan and he gets to be reunited with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter. So I could see that being a little bit of a smart pick. So I see Cynthia Freeland making that decision. And I think that's actually a solid pick for being an edge rusher. And then Michael Middlehurst Schwartz of USA Today has Tyler Booker of Alabama being drafted. Okay, I mean, it's a guard, offensive lineman, protect your quarterback. And then he also has the Chargers selecting offensive lineman Gray Zabel of North Dakota State. Okay, another interesting pick. And then this pick, I love this pick. At 86, he actually has Cam Skattebo of Arizona State being drafted. I love me some Cam Skattebo. If the Chargers can get Cam Skattebo in the later rounds, preferably in the third round, draft him. Because I highly doubt Ashton Genty is going to be falling all the way down to 22, unless no one really wants him. And then Chris Trapasso has the Chargers selecting safety Nick Imanwari of South Carolina. What is up with these safeties? And then he says, imagine Imanwari and Derwin James the secondary. They're two oversized but uber athletic safeties. Then Josh Edwards of CBS Sports has edge rusher Mike Green from Marshall being drafted by the Chargers. Dude, that's it. That's all for the Chargers mock draft in terms of the most recent mock draft. What a weird mock draft. I mean, some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, but it is what it is. It's a mock draft. All right, now we jump on over to the Rams' most recent mock draft, and this is courtesy of Rams Wire. So the first prospect for the Rams to draft is Kurt Popejoy, offensive tackle for Texas. Okay, all right. This is the logical sense. I'm very high on the Rams getting an offensive lineman in the first round of the draft. Like, they have to go offensive lineman. If they don't go offensive lineman, then whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Matthew Stafford or whoever, they're gonna get beaten up in a really, really horrible way. And then Kurt Popejoy of DraftWire has the Rams selecting Cameron Williams. So Kurt Popejoy is the guy that thinks that the Rams are going to draft offensive linemen. So Cameron Williams is the guy that the Rams are going to be drafting. And then Christian Andrea for the win has Minnesota offensive tackle Ariante Ursary. He's 6'6" and he's 330 pounds. Okay, as long as it's offensive lineman. Anything other that's not offensive lineman, I'm clicking off this thing. So Lance Zierlein of NFL.com has the Rams selecting offensive tackle Josh Connerly Jr. Okay, another offensive tackle. And then Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com has the Rams selecting Oregon offensive tackle Josh Connerly Jr. Same with Dane Brugler of The Athletic. Goes with Connerly Jr. Mel Kiper, Connerly Jr. So you're seeing a big trend here. Rams should go offensive linemen. If they don't go offensive linemen, I am done with them. Mason Cameron of Pro Football Focus has Missouri offensive tackle Armand Membu being drafted. Then Matt Miller of ESPN. Okay, he goes against the grain here. Matt Miller of ESPN says that the Rams should draft cornerback Azare Thomas. I mean, okay. It's all right. It's an okay pick if you ask me. I mean, the Rams are dying for a talented corner, but so are the Chargers. So that's actually the last one on this list, by the way. So nice little Rams Wire mock draft in terms of the mock draft and who the Rams should select. I know this isn't as of late, but it is what it is. So good. So those are some good picks. And bottom line, if the Rams, barring the Rams don't trade up, because there are rumors saying that the Rams could trade Matthew Stafford for the number 3 pick to the Giants, but I'll only see it to believe it. So we shall see. All right, but that is that for the Rams and Chargers mock draft. Before we get on out of here, let us go over the Dum Dum of the Week. So no one is safe from this award. Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out to an organization or person that does or says something stupid. So like I mentioned, no one is safe from this award. I kind of have to give myself the mini Dum Dum of the Week award because I kind of messed up on SoCal Supreme Sports Show versus Set Point, but I digress. So let's give out two actual Dum Dums of the Week awards. So I could just give it to the Kansas City Chiefs because they got humbled against the Eagles, but that's boring. So remember that person I was referring to regarding what I said in terms of the UCLA's win streak being broken? Oh my God, this guy, look, I don't really get this guy. First and foremost, he has some of the worst grammar. Not to be so judgmental because I don't have the best grammar out there on X. I make mistakes too, but this guy is one of the weirdest grammar ever. So this guy, do I want to mention his name? Do I want to throw his ad out there? Nah, I'll keep him silent. Y'all can look at him on X. He says, he responded to my post regarding UCLA's streak being broken and how they need to focus. He says, don't worry, they'll lose again on the last game of the year. In the last game of the year, yikes. And he spelled game wrong. He put gain instead of game. And again, in the bug I shouldn't laugh, but he put the Bug 10 tournament. I looked at this reply, and I'm like, the Bug 10 tournament? I was going to say, I don't know about the Bug 10 tournament, but I think UCLA might have better luck in the Big 10 tournament, my friend, and be upset yet again in the NCAA tournament. What? I mean, if they didn't have Lauren Betts, then maybe, but they have Lauren Betts. What? Dude, this is clown. This is the most clown reply ever. And he goes on to say, Corey Close is a terrible coach. She made no adjustments and gave up a 10-1 run without doing anything to stop the momentum. First of all, that was a 12-1 run. Let's get that right. Second of all, Corey Close isn't even that bad of a coach. She's not terrible. I mean, is she Gino Armenta? Of course not. Is she Dawn Staley? No. But look at the team that UCLA has now. It's one loss. This is the type of post and reply that is basically saying the world is going to end because UCLA lost one game to USC. The one replier that said, but did they have to break it, referring to USC? Yes, I get. But this guy who's got the worst grammar out there, I only wish I was able to do this show on my laptop instead of my phone. This guy is bugging out real quick. I'm sorry, but this guy kind of gets dumb of the week just because of this response. It's like, dude, you're overreacting over one loss. Calm down. It's one loss. They didn't lose to Northwestern or Penn State, and their season is still going. This is the regular season. Take a deep breath. Lord have mercy. All right, but that is the first dub of the week. The second dub of the week comes from the athletic director of Alabama. So, oh boy, yes, the Alabama. Oh man. I don't know what to say in regards to this guy. So Gene Byrne had probably one of the most interesting things I've ever read on the internet. So Gene Byrne proposes a harsh rule regarding something that has happened in terms of college football. He proposes that teams fans that storm the field after their team wins, or if a team wins, their team should have to forfeit the game. I'm not kidding you. This man, Gene Byrne, says that Alabama's athletic director, Gene Byrne, says that teams should have to forfeit their games if their fans storm the field. First and foremost, how do you know which fans will be storming the field? How do you know maybe Alabama's fans will be storming part of that field? Like, and second of all, that takes the fun out of storming the field or storming the court. I get it. Protect the players. But honestly, that's why you have to beef up security. This man is completely dumb. I just looked at this thing and I'm like, what? You want to ban storming the field, and you want the team of the fans that storm the field to have to forfeit the game? Forfeit the game after they worked so hard to pull off your upset? Just because everyone storms the field when your team loses doesn't mean that you should take away the fun in terms of like other teams' fans. No wonder no one takes Alabama seriously. This man is out here straight up saying that rule should be enforced and taking away the fun of storming the field. Like, good Lord Almighty. Like, if you don't want people to storm the field, either beef up security, get like something to prevent students from storming the field, and more importantly, don't lose the freaking game. Don't lose to Vanderbilt. Don't lose to Oklahoma. Don't lose at all. Is it that difficult? Like, good Lord Almighty, this guy, I can't believe this Greg Byrne guy literally proposed that rule. If that rule passes, college football altogether and the people that voted for that rule gets dumb of the week. But Greg Byrne, you ought to be ashamed of legit saying that and proposing that rule. Like, how can you be so stupid? I get it. You didn't want to see. You want to see players not get hurt. There was an incident where I don't remember who beat Iowa, but one of Iowa's fans accidentally ran into Caitlin Clark, and that was kind of the thing for storming the court. And I get that, but storming the field, and I get it. Vanderbilt's fans took the goalpost and chucked it into like the river, but come on, don't be such a sourpuss and ruin it for everybody. Like, learn to take a loss like a man and don't ruin the whole college football aspect for people. Like, I never even got a chance to storm a field in terms of like seeing my team win. Not even in high school. But honestly, this was funny yet sad that Greg Byrne, of all people, proposed this. Keep in mind, this is the athletic director for Alabama, and he got to see his field stormed not once but twice because Alabama just could not beat Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. But Greg Byrne, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week. How could you even propose this? And I hope this does not pass, because if you have this rule, then so be it. But it just shows that you lack a spine as an athletic director, and you just want to ruin the whole fun for opposing teams. Like, what if Alabama students storm the field after they take down the number one team? Are you gonna have Alabama forfeit their win? No, of course not. Like, you're probably just gonna say nothing and be like, I never proposed that. So, Greg Byrne, you're Dum Dum of the Week for proposing that teams should have to forfeit. And why should teams have to forfeit anything? If anything, that the school should just be fined, and that they should just maybe the students should be talked to and said, hey, you can storm the field, but please don't make contact with the opposing team, or don't attack the opposing team physically or mentally and whatnot. But man, Greg Byrne, you are so dumb. Like, that deserves the sound effect right there, but we've retired that in terms of StreamYard. But Greg Byrne, you are Dum Dum of the Week number 2, and this might be early candidate for Dum Dum of the Year. Like, who even suggests this rule? Oh, I get it. An athletic director who saw his team and the opponent storm the field twice, one against Vanderbilt and one against Oklahoma. But yeah, this Greg Byrne guy is Dum Dum of the Week. End of discussion. All right, but that's going to do it for the Dum Dum of the Week. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Gosh darn it, I almost did it again. But this is going to conclude this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Happy Valentine's Day to those that celebrate it. I don't really celebrate it just because reasons, but I digress. But I will see you all on Monday for Set Point, and I should be back next Friday for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. But have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy Valentine's Day with your significant other. Enjoy it with the ones that you love. You deserve it. And just know that everyone is loved no matter who says what. So I'll see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great week. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace.